IVM.
Hello and welcome to the Habit Coach podcast. I am Ashton Doctor, your habit coach. And today we have with us Aisha Bilamoria. In case you missed the first episode, please go listen to that because we spoke about the whole runner's mindset, understanding sprinting, understanding an athlete, and understanding all those elements that go with it. Today, we're going to be talking about something that we discuss in the Habit Coach podcast very frequently with our guests, which is understanding and celebrating your rock bottom moments. Because when we celebrate our rock bottom moments, we know that there's no better place or there's nowhere else to go than up. So, and we all go through these rock bottom moments in our lives. And if we can understand how others deal with them, and we know that we are not alone in these rock bottom moments, whatever it is that you're going through, it just makes this whole journey through life so much more comfortable. So, Aisha, welcome to the Habit Coach podcast.
Hi, thanks for having me back.
My pleasure. It was such an interesting discussion that we spoke about, through your entire journey. And we were talking about earlier, there's so many moments in time when life comes and gives you a dhap in the face, right?
Oh, wow. So Parsi. That is so Parsi. Comes and give you a dhap in the face. I love it.
It does that, right?
It does. Yeah.
And to add to it, you say ulta hathi. So an ulta hathi dhap on your face given by life, right? As the universe just throws everything out the window. Giggle.
I guess this is only an insider Parsi joke, which most people won't understand.
All 4 people who are Parsis listening to this. by population statistics. Yeah. So we're both Parsis, and on our Instagram, every time we chat, it's all Jamwa Chaloji and internal Parsi jokes.
That's right. I mean, we can drop in a few bombs here also.
But then we have to explain it also. So you have to do asterisks and explain.
No. Too much effort.
So Aisha, rock bottom moments.
Yes.
So when I say rock bottom moments, what thoughts come to your mind?
Many. Firstly, many rock bottom thoughts. I mean, many rock bottom moments come back to my head that I've had in my career. Actually, many. I think my whole life has been rock bottom, then going upward. But I always say that there is no such thing as you can't do something if you failed at it. There is always a way out. And again, like I said in the last podcast, that motivation comes from within. And it depends on how badly you want it. When I was young, I was so driven with the Olympic goal that no matter what anybody told me, if I was capable of achieving it or not, my accident was severe. They said I would not be able to run again, etc., etc. No matter what people told me, I never allowed anybody's suggestion or opinion or advice to affect me. Because clearly it was my journey, it was my goal, and it was my mindset. And I feel like our society, on a whole, our society is very discouraging. And I mean this around the world. This is not just our country. I mean, yes, our country tops the list, undoubtedly. Yeah, I can point out 20,000 people who told me I would not make it. Who said I would fail. Today, all of those people might be very happy to see that I didn't make it to the Olympics. But the point is that I didn't give up because you told me. I sadly had to slow down because my body told me that you got to stop. So, and still, I'm not stopping because I'm hurt. I could sit on my disc herniation and say, this is the end of my career. I gotta really stop. No. What is the alternative? Where can I find a way to make sure that I don't get hurt again? So I work towards the positives. I don't let any negative allow me to affect me in any way. I think that's just me as a person. I think get that from my mother. My mother's very strong-willed. My mother's very determined with life. I think I get that value from her. I get that spirit, that fighting spirit from her. So yeah, I've hit many rock bottoms. The biggest one being my accident, of course.
What happened?
I was hit by a car when I was going to college, and Dad was riding the scooter. I was sitting as a pillion, but I was sitting the lady style. I was wearing a tight denim skirt, so I couldn't sit the other way. So it was kind of raining, not heavily, but it was raining. I had a wind cheater on. Our signal was green, and the signal from the left hand side was on a red, but there was a Honda City that came zooming, and it smashed into us. I think I got very fortunate because of the clothes that I was wearing, but I did have a lot of external bruises. But the internal hit was on the hip.
Okay.
And that's where my history of injuries, that's where my history of this back problem comes from. I suffered for many years with that. I mean, when I met John Gloucester about a year and a half after that injury, he said my alignment had gone off. So he fixed it. Then we started doing some core training that was helping me. From there on, he said, you need to go to Australia, because also around that time when my accident happened and a few years before the accident, I was in very bad coaching space. I was trained by really bad coaches. So there was a lot of negative kind of aura around me of people. And I'm a very positive person, my energies resonate very high, but my energy is also very strong that I can hold on to and grab somebody's negative very quickly. And then that plays. So John said, you need to get out of here, go to a space where you don't know anybody, learn new things, let go of the old, and come back as a fresh new athlete. And that was it. That was life-changing for me. I went to Australia and Gavin completely changed my life. I mean, I thank him every day, even though we are not in touch anymore. He's the person who completely believed that I was going to make it to the Olympics. That is all I needed. I needed one intelligent person to say, you are capable of doing this, but you have to work really hard. That's all. Then from there on, I never looked back. I was like, here's a man who has so much faith in him. There's a man who doesn't know me at all. He just saw me running twice. Our first run was a trial run for training. He just wanted to see what my mentality was. Of course, I never give up. So you tell me to run 500s and I will run 500s, even if I'm dying. And if you tell me that I have to be here at a certain time, you should have this is ready. I'm one of those very disciplined people. That's also because I was very driven by the goal, right? So there was no space or time to complain because the urgency, I was 24 when I went to Australia. I wasn't young. I wasn't a young athlete. I had aged through the career. So there was an urgency. The London Olympics were round the corner in 2 years. And we had a lot of work to do. And he said I would make it. His faith was everything for me. So that's what drove me. I mean, that still drives me. I'm still very positive that I will run for India one day. I'm very positive. Maybe it's not the Olympics. Chal, I've given up on that. And people who are listening to this, they'll say, oh no, don't give up this, that. The thing is that people don't live in a practical world. People live in this, oh, you got to be positive. Oh, you got to think positive. I mean, people, there's a reality to life. You can't deny the reality. Because you could be standing, and these are Gavin's words, again, they're so fresh in my head. You could be standing on a track, on your lane, 50,000 people watching you. You made all 50,000 people believe that today you're going to come first. But only you know in your heart how much you've trained and how much you are going to put into that race to come first. You can only fool the rest of the world. You can't fool yourself. That's a really important life message that people need to have they need to have that in their value system to understand that I can't fool the world. She's not adhering to those herself, then she's fooling people by trying to put that stuff out there, right? So you have to be honest with yourself at all times. And I'm honest with myself. I'm honest with myself now that, okay, the Olympics went by. I mean, by the time the next Olympics comes, I'm going to be 39, 38. Yeah, crap. Actually, no, I'll be close to my 40s. So let's just leave it at that. So no, I don't want to try out for the next Olympics. I want to do a lot more with Project FitGirl. I want to build new athletes. I want to build the next generation up. to probably pursue the dream that I couldn't. Give them the right tools, give them the right knowledge, education, all of that, which we didn't get as young teenagers and young adults. So, yeah, that's why. That's why I believe that no setback is greater than your mind. Your mind is everything. Anything you put your mind to, you can achieve.
Are there certain things that you do on a daily basis to have that run in your mind? Do you talk to
No.
yourself? Do you write? Do you do anything?
No. Gavin always said it's all in the head. Your affirmations are in your head. Your motivation is in your head. No, I used to write a lot of things and keep it on my cupboard. I still have it. It's in my room right now. It's there because that page has been with me for the last 15 years. And there's a timing written on it. And that timing it used to be in my cupboard even in Australia. And he said, so you want to run 52.1? Why is it on a paper on your cupboard? I said, so I can see it every day. He said, yeah, but seeing it is not getting you fast. Training for it is. You can only train for it if you have the right mindset. That's it. So, different people have different ways of motivating themselves. I'm just made differently. Like I said, I'm very unique. I don't consider myself to be what regular people do. And I'm very proud of that because I just am different. Actually, I'm unique. It's very different from unique. You know what I mean?
Different is different from unique.
That's right. That's the right word. This is where the dhansak comes into play.
What did we have? We had Sasni Machi, so very close.
Oh, man, no.
So, what to do now? Friday. So, this whole concept of when you're at your rock bottom, how do you even start the first step to get out of it? Like in the past, you said you've had many rock bottoms, right? And obviously you've learned from each of these. So it might have gotten easier, might not have. But what is that first step? Because you've hit patak, you've flattened out. Now what is that next one, first step?
My second rock bottom moment was in Portugal in 2019, April, where I had a very bad panic attack. Back to back over 3 days. It was pretty serious. That was definitely rock bottom. For me, I think I drowned. I almost wanted to go drown in the sea at that given point. I was just like, this is not happening. This is supposed to be my comeback year. I had 7 injuries back to back. Back to back, I had 7 injuries. Actually, not even back to back. I had 7 injuries in April at one go. But they kind of built up from November, December, Jan, Feb, March. And by the time I reached the camp, the training camp in Portugal, I was completely out. I came back to India. The doctors saw me. We did a couple of tests. They were not positive. They said, you need to stop running immediately. I had swelling in my joints. My nerves, my veins had swollen up. I was not allowed to do anything besides be on bed rest and go for treatment. That's how severe the panic attack was. So at that point, I was like, this is it. I am not going to run after this. This is not what I run for. This is killing me. I can't let my, these stupid words that people use, what only kills you makes you stronger, all that rubbish. Don't fall for that nonsense. People who are listening to this, please don't fall for that nonsense because nothing is more valuable than your life. And that is what I learned through that phase, that nothing is more valuable in this world than your heart beating, your organs functioning, your nervous system allowing everything to move well. When one of it doesn't work the way you want it to work, right? That's when you go into panic mode. That's when you realize how valuable your life is. And for me, that was an eye-opening year. So I didn't run for 6 months. I was having the best time of my life. I did not even have the motivation, or I would wake up every morning. I would do my strength training because I had to do my rehab and I had to rebuild my strength. And when Dr. Qureshi, who was treating me for blood, he did blood vessel therapy on me. Of course, he told me for the first 5-6 weeks, I could not run at all. Then after on the 7th, 8th week of treatment, he said he would touch the back of my knee or anywhere around my thigh while he was doing the treatment. And he'd say, Abhi bhi tum mein bahut jaan hai. When I touch your nadis, you still have it in you to run. And I said, no, doc, I'm done. I've hit the rock bottom. This is it for me. I don't want to run. He said, no, don't give up on it. 3-4 years. Give it all you got, 3-4 years. Then your body won't run the way it's supposed to run now. I said, no, I just don't want to do it. I'm done with this. And he said, trust me on it. Don't give up. Anyway, the treatment ended in 3 months. I went to California to do my stick mobility course. And Dennis was very positive. He said, put it in the past. It was a phase. You learned something from it. You're much stronger now. Your body is much stronger. Go for it. And I was still not convinced. And he said, you're in San Francisco. This is a great place to just go out and run, Have no this thing in your head of what you have to run. Just go and run. Enjoy the view. And I was still not convinced. I came back from California. I went to Dubai for a summit. It's where I met Andrew. Andrew then became my coach, who I trained with in Los Angeles. And I met Andrew and he said, when I was in that group, we had to basically just share a story. And I shared my story in the group and I burst out into tears. And all the dignitaries and all the coaches, the dignitaries were the coaches, very top movement therapists from around the world. They just looked at me and they said, remember why you started. Why did you start? How silly of me to have forgotten why I started, right? Because I was so caught up in my goals of getting somewhere that I forgot the process of wanting to be there, of how to get there actually. So I spoke to Andrew and he said, you are most welcome to come and train with me in LA, but just come with the why. I don't want anything else. Forget the Olympics. Forget everything. Remember why you started running and I'm going to bring you back to where you were. Rightfully so. He did that. I went with a very positive mind to Los Angeles. I just started training 10 days before going to LA because I said, hey, I don't want to look like a complete idiot when I go there. So yeah, that was it. I went to LA. After Sydney, it was one of the best experiences of training with an international coach. I cannot thank him enough for what he taught me. And of course, I went and did something silly on my own, which is why now I'm suffering with this back injury. But I know I'll overcome this. But for whatever I have learned in my entire career of athletics from how many ever coaches, the good coaches that have taught me, that is the experience that I'm going to now take into my mid-30s. That is what I even have right now. It's my experience. So just because I hit rock bottom doesn't mean that I had to give up on something. It meant that it was setting me up for something else, Failures always set you up for success. I believe in that very strongly. And no better person can do it but you. Nobody will do it for you. Only you can do it for yourself. So don't ever rely on people. The right energies will come into your life when they're meant to come into your life. Because till then, you're still learning the lesson, That time when I hit rock bottom in Portugal, I was meant to go through that. I was meant to suffer that feeling because it was a way of the universe telling me, slow down. But I was not slowing down. And then with everything that happened with me doing the deadlift in LA, I still struggle to 2020. I struggled through that year with training, even last year in lockdown, because I was locked down in Lonavala. I was fortunate to train. So I was training really hard. Still, I was not listening to my body. I was just going for it. And my body's telling me, slow down. So eventually, it kind of reached a point where I was told, either you run or you don't run anymore. If you want to run, then this is what you have to do. But if you don't do it correctly, you're going to hurt yourself. I still feel like I don't listen. I'm so stubborn. Because you know what I went out and did, right? Now again, I'm sitting on my Swiss ball with a hot pack on my back. So I don't know if I'll ever learn.
Ouch. Huh.
But such is life, They say when you want to leave a legacy behind, it has to be a strong one. So why not?
What is one hot pack in the scheme of things, huh?
I agree.
Because the 2-3 things that you said that I want to dissect that are so important. One is the concept that failure is basically success that hasn't happened yet, right? It is just that one step that you need to your success. So whatever it is that you're going through, if you're not learning from it, it was a waste, right? But
That's
if you
right.
learn from it, then it is completely valuable, and then you should be celebrating it. If you didn't learn from it, complete dhakkan, you should not be celebrating it at all. You'll probably be stuck there. But the idea is learn from it and then see what else you can do and take the next step, right? Make new mistakes. Don't make the same ones again and again.
We will naturally make mistakes. Humans were created to make mistakes because, like we say, right, we are not perfect.
Correct.
We will make mistakes. We should make mistakes. That's how you grow.
Tell me something. Whenever you think about rock bottom moments, do you see them as, we normally immediately go into fault finding mode, right?
Of course. Oh, it's sorry again. I may sound extremely racist here, but it's a very Indian thing. Indians are quick at pointing fingers at everything, anything, and anyone. And I say this very proudly because when I left this country and when I saw our country as a third person, I realized why I was not progressing. Because if I was injured, I was pointing fingers at that coach did it. The coach's training was bad. That physio didn't fix me properly. We don't have the right facilities in our country to do this. And Gavin was like, how long are you going to play this blame game? This was such an important learning or my takeaway from my training in Australia. For how long are you going to blame your surroundings, your people, or something that didn't work for you because you couldn't be successful? When are you going to take the ownership that I didn't become successful because I didn't work hard enough for it?
Yes.
Right? And I have learned why the world has progressed in sport. And I have learned why we are still not there. It's sad. It's really sad. But this is the truth. And people need to hear this truth. Because look at Instagram today. Look at social media. Ashley, you do anything on social media, people will point a finger at you saying, oh, you wrote this. Oh, you're eating this. Why? It means, why not? Right? We live in a democratic country. We have the damn right to do anything we want. We have the right to speak the truth. We have certain rights. We can do whatever we want. But why are people so judgmental? I've learned that people who are judgmental are the ones who have not achieved anything in their life. And the people who are judgmental are the ones who are too scared to go out and achieve their own dreams. So what is the first thing to do? Point fingers at others and say, you're useless. You made a mistake. It's your fault. Right? Very, very typical. Very typical. I should write a book on this particular topic itself.
I think you definitely should because, as soon as there are the 3 C's, like do not compare, do not criticize, do not complain, right? These are the 3 C's of negativity. Judgment is one of those things because like only people who are lower than you can pull you down. There's no other way.
Absolutely.
Right? And the people who do that are not even worth a second more of your time.
I totally agree. But
especially when you're rock bottom, that's all you can do.
Can I tell you, I have only 5 people in my life who I trust. Yeah, 2 of them are my parents. The other 3 are my best friends. I don't trust anyone otherwise. Why? Because it takes a lot to be where I am. And when I say where I am, it has nothing to do with my fame or fit girl or being an athlete. No, where I am in my head. Yeah. And if there is no respect, if you don't understand who I am as a person, you don't have the right to be in my life. You don't have the right to question anything about my life. You don't have the right to give me an opinion about my life or about anything in life. Because I've come far ahead in understanding life. So people who haven't achieved enough as me or don't have the kind of life experience that I've had, I'm just like, you're wasting your time talking to me. When I have people calling me for social parties or when friends say, oh, you should meet my friends, this and that. And I'm like, do you realize how exclusive I am? And my exclusivity is not my arrogance or not my pomp. It's the fact that I can't come down to that level to communicate with people who are not ahead in their game here. Right? Because when you have come this far in life, you had a certain set of friends when you were younger. And it's been 10 years, you have grown, but those set of friends have not grown at all. And by grown, I don't mean in success or in money. I mean grown in the head. if they have not grown in their head, why are we still friends? You know, it's very important what kind of people you associate yourself with. That is, again, really important with this discussion, with this topic that you spoke about, right?
Correct.
That people are quick to judge and all of that, especially people who are lower than us. People who are not on the same journey as you or not on the same path as you of life, they are the ones who will quickly tell you off. They are the ones who quickly want to pull you down. Don't surround yourself by those people. Don't even be around those people. Run miles away the minute you see somebody like that. I am like, whoa, stay away from me. It's incredible. That's where you realize how powerful you are as a person.
Correct.
That's your own power. That's your own strength. That you don't need to have anyone and everyone in your life as a friend. You don't need that.
Yes. And that is the most important thing because, like we were talking about blame games and we were talking about, and we said that we leave the control of our lives to other people. We're
Yes.
constantly in a state of reaction. Oh, this person
Yes.
said this to me and hence I'm like this. Oh, this person said
Talk
that to
about-
me.
I'll give you a very simple example of body shaming. Okay, today body shaming is a big word. Have you ever noticed that anybody now, let's say you are fat, right? Ashdeen, you are fat. Ashdeen, you are fat. I'm not shaming you. I am stating the obvious, right? Aisha, you're skinny. Yes, Aisha, you are skinny. It is not a derogatory term. It is not to put you down. You are skinny. How you accept what the opposite person tells you says a lot about the person, because either you can go in complete retaliation or defense mode and say, how dare you call me fat? How dare you call me skinny? But I can tell you, Ashdeen says, Aisha, you're so skinny. And I'm like, yeah, I'm skinny. So what? I am skinny. I'm not going to go into defense and say, oh, you're body shaming me, calling me skinny, this and that. No, I'm skinny. Yeah, I'm skinny. That's it. There is no harm in being fat. There is no harm in being obese. There is no harm in being thin. People who are listening to this, listen very carefully that if you are fat and if you are unhealthy, you need to work out. You need to eat healthy. And if you are working out and if you are healthy and you still can't lose weight, then be proud of yourself because you're making effort. The same goes for people who are extremely thin. If you have a health issue, if you're anorexic, if you are sick, then work towards building a better immunity. Work towards exercising. Exercising helps your immunity. And even then, if you can't gain weight, be proud of yourself. Right? Because at the end of the day, it's only about you. It's not about what people tell you. Because when you become really confident about yourself, you will not care if somebody calls you fat, thin, obese, patlu, jaria, this, that, anything.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
Again, this is the same thing that people are quick to point fingers. Today, body shaming is happening, but people have got to learn how to emotionally defend themselves and say, I don't give a damn what you're saying. I know what I'm doing. Okay, I have a health problem. No, I work out, I exercise. I'm doing great, even if I'm fat. Right? People have got to stop being so defensive about anything. This is just an example I'm saying. Huh? This is an example.
Absolutely.
There are so many instances in our phases of our life where people just get like, don't tell me what to do. Why are you telling me what to do? I don't care. I'm going to still do what I want to do. Okay. You need a reality check. Start yoga. Breathe.
Yoga.
Breathe.
Yeah. Because, whenever someone says something to you, there's like checklists that you can go through. The first one is there any truth to what the person said?
Absolutely.
You're fat. Is there any truth? Yeah, actually, I am fat. Okay, so then what am I getting upset about? She just basically stated a fact. Okay.
It's just...
Then the second aspect is what was the intention behind it?
Yes, exactly. The intent is the most important thing. See, I'm not saying that body shaming is not an issue today. It is. But a person like me is not going to insult you and humiliate Ashdeen and say, hey, Ashdeen, Jaria, hey, Jaria. I'm not going to do that, right?
Yeah.
Because my intent is not to hurt you by mocking your body weight.
Correct.
My intent is just that, hey, you're really obese. Is there a problem? Are you working out? Do you need help? The intent is clean. The intent is positive. But people have become sensitive. That's what I've learned. The reason why they react so quickly is that people are not resilient and they're not tough enough to stand up and be confident enough for themselves. And I don't know what has caused people to become so weak and so sensitive and so vulnerable that anything and everything you say to them, they take it upon them like the world is coming to an end.
Correct.
And if you see trolls on Instagram, it is the exact same, right? They think they have an opinion about you for everything. They think they want to tell you every single thing. And you must adhere to what they say because, hey, at the end, you're just a blue tick puppet, right? Like a popat. You just go tuck, 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 tuck. No, I'm not. I know what I'm doing. I listen to your opinion. I see your opinion. If I want to take into consideration what you have to say, I will take it. If not, I am going to push you behind that wall and you'll stay behind that wall. That's all. Yeah. It's called self-control. Otherwise, I can snap at every other post on my Instagram. Snap at people. Does it change anybody's life? No. Who gets angry? Who gets irritable? Me. Is this a good space for me to be irritable and angry? No. So why should I create that space for myself?
Correct. Yeah.
Right?
And just laugh it off at times. Some people
Absolutely
are
laugh
just so
it
silly.
off.
I remember
they really stuck
the
up.
first time I got a message similar to this was on something really, really strange. What are your top 5 favorite books? I put down top 5 favorite books. One person said, and it's interesting to see that not even one of them was a female author. What? I mean, like, how did you even turn this into a male-female thing? Favorite books, and one of them was a female author. Like Catherine. Like, I mean, Catherine can't be like a male name, right? But it was just, and I'm like, how should I even respond to this?
Yeah.
There is nowhere to.
Yeah.
But it's so interesting, right? And many people actually get so affected by trolling or other people's opinions about these things.
I know of friends who just cannot handle trolls. And I keep talking to them about the fact that it doesn't affect your life in any way. You don't even know these people. These people don't even know you. What they type in those sentences should have absolutely no effect on you. It's the same with me. Even though I read a lot of good comments of people, Aisha, you're brilliant, you're so positive, you're this, you're amazing. It is, for me, the bad trolls and the good trolls are all the same. I take it with a pinch of salt. Ainyathi samjo, ainyathi kari nakho. As easy as that.
Yeah.
Because you are not here, let me tell you, you are not on this planet to lead anybody else's life. You are here to lead your own life. So if you hit rock bottom, get up and do it for yourself. If somebody trolls you, learn to ignore them. If somebody humiliates you or says things to you that you feel offended about, learn to pull your wall up, draw the wall up, and know how much to allow someone to affect you. It's really important.
Correct.
We need to have more positive chats like this across tables with people, not just telling people, oh, you need to work out so much. Oh, why did you not work out today? What are we building? We're building physical machines. Why are we not building people's minds? The most important thing is your mind, right?
Correct.
If your mind is strong, positive, confident, courageous, what is the physical self? Nothing. It's going to turn into ash one day, right? But what your energy seeks here is all of the above that I just said.
Yeah.
That's how your consciousness grows. That's how your life grows.
Beautiful. Love it. There's so much stuff to unpack from this, and we spoke about so many different things, from taking those steps out, learning to rely on people, knowing who to trust, and so many different aspects when it comes to getting out of your rock bottom moments. I think the big takeouts for me were understanding where your goal is, knowing that there is something that you can still achieve and still going for it, and being true to yourself. I think one of the biggest things that I learned from these 2 podcasts that I did with you was this: there is an unwavering image of what you have about yourself, and that is just this beautiful structure that you've created. And I was like, it's so brilliant, because nothing can shake it at that point of time, because you know who you are. Right. And this is such a big learning, because most of us are struggling with this one thought: who am I? Right? For you, it's very, very clear. And if you are somebody who's struggling with it, I think there's so much that you can unpack in this conversation that we've had today. Aisha, thank you so much for being on the Habit Coach podcast. I'm so happy we could do this.
I'm very happy that we could speak about it, because, I haven't spoken this openly in a long time. Earlier, I used to be a little hesitant on public platforms, especially. And I don't mean digital media. I mean public platforms where I've spoken at events and press meetings and all of that. I feel like, again, like we said, people are so sensitive that you have to be so careful with what you say. And recently I wrote an article and somebody said, Aisha, you're really blunt and you're very in the face. And I thought to myself, yeah, that's me. That will always be me. So don't be shy to tell people what the truth is, because the thing is, people don't like to hear the truth. And that's why I don't have a lot of people in my life, because I speak the truth. And the ones who like to hear the truth are my true friends. The ones who don't like to hear the truth, you're going to be in a crowd and you'll fool 50,000 people. You can't fool yourself. On that note, we can end this.
Love it. Thank you so much. Awesome. Thanks. Thank you. So start these habits and share with us your progress using the hashtag #TheHabitCoach. If you like this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. You can also follow us on social media. We are at IVM Podcasts on Twitter and Instagram. If you want to reach out to me, I am Ashtin Doc on Twitter and Instagram. You can find lots more information on my website, awesome180.com, or check out different content on my YouTube channel called AWESOME180. That's Awesome 180.
I hope you enjoyed that show. If you aren't following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. We'd like to thank the sponsors on the network this week, Ciet and Cred. We really appreciate the support. It is what makes this possible. So it was a fun week on Cider Says. We had guests like Dolly Singh, we had Guneet Monga, we had Kamya Jani of Curry Tales, and Cock and Bull, as we always did. Do check it out. I think you'll really enjoy that. On Paisa Vaisa, we crossed 300 episodes, and Anupam was joined by Akhil Handa, the digital head of Bank of Baroda. All Things Policy discussed topics like the 100 years of China's Communist Party, the Facebook versus the Government of India case, and the evolution of Indian science. On the Wire Talk, Siddharth Bhatia was joined by Gautam Bhatia to discuss the Central Vista project and why it's attracting so much flack. Sadaf and Archit are back on the Non-Curry podcast, and this time they raise the temperatures as they discuss the beloved spice mirchi. On the Millennial Athlete, this week Tanvi and Shlok speak to Sarita Chauri, a visually impaired judoist. And finally, I want to ask you all to give a listen to the Triangle Offense. Anybody who has heard me talk on a podcast knows I can't shut up about basketball, and these guys know more about it than I do. So if you enjoy basketball, do check this out. Nishant and Monish do an excellent job with this show. I was one of their guests a few months ago, which is how I met them and tried to convince them to come onto the network, and they're finally here. So definitely do check this out. Show's available on all major podcasting platforms, but they also have a daily YouTube episode, which is available on the IVM Podcast channel. And with that, I hope to see you again next week.
If you love cricket, listen up. The Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast is here for you. Hosted by DJ, Varun, and me, Ashwin, we bring a fun, fresh fan's point of view to talking all things cricket. Sometimes it's just the three of us, sometimes we have guests, including current and former international cricketers. For new episodes every week, check out the Edges and Sledges Cricket Podcast on the IVM app, website, or wherever you get your podcasts.